eaten up there for a second.
Oh, snap. We had to slow down to take a turn.
We'll say.
Up.
Yeah. Scream! Oh god!
There's so much blood.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going? Welcome everyone. Welcome to DrawBomb.
Welcome to another episode of The Driven.
I will say I did not hear the music, but that doesn't mean the viewers didn't. I just wanna.
You didn't hear the show tunes? You didn't hear the intro song?
I sure didn't. That's why I didn't start drawing right away. I was like, huh?
Interesting. What happened? What changed? Oh, you know what? I think I turned off the I turned off the microphone capturing capabilities of whichever we have the thing on. I had to mess with some of my settings.
Okay.
Good shit. Good shit. You know, eventually I'll. There's a plugin I found for OBS that kind of removes the necessity of having voice meter. And I was like, well, I already paid money for voice meters. Like, am I really gonna? But honestly, each time I like have to do like anything different, it just makes it like, oh yeah, no, it would help if I got this plugin instead of having to like route all the audio through voice meter to like send it to the right microphones.
Yeah, I can see the pros and cons, but I mean, it's the only thing I know. I take all the time to learn something, and then I just fear change after that.
Yeah. I'd be happy to make the switch, because this shit's fucking annoying.
Yeah, the fact that it just breaks randomly is kind of a deal breaker.
Not a fan.
We got Xenoots in the chat. We got Belbo Rocket in the chat. Welcome to the show.
They're in the chat. Here these.
Belbo Rocket says, Brandon is great at hands. Wow, that is... As an artist, that's the nicest thing anyone's ever said to me. The only thing nicer you could say is if I was good at like drawing bicycles or something, I would be like,
bikes are hard.
Stop, you're making me blush. I feel like I struggle at hands. I see some artists do hands that just look like so effortless, but so good. And I sit there and like, I can draw monster hands real good, but human hands, no.
Monster hands, you get a little bit more leeway. I have a friend. I have a friend who she did cover art for one of the. Oh, we got the Leviathan Den.
Leviathan Den's here too. 18 months. He subscribed for 19 months.
Oh my gosh.
You're a crazy person.
Oh yeah.
Wow. Thanks. That's very kind.
Thanks. I have a friend who she actually worked on the cover art for a couple of Stranger Things comic books. And she was flexing on Instagram. She showed herself drawing a bicycle without using reference, because she just had to draw. Because she worked on a board game called Kids on Bikes, which was kind of like Stranger Things, and like Stranger Things as a board game, but like not made officially. So she was hired to do art for that. So she got to draw a lot of bikes. So she was flexing the other day, being like, "Yeah, here's me drawing a bike without reference."
That's impressive. Yeah. They said it couldn't be done, but. Yeah, you're somebody who defies.
God damn.
Everything we thought we knew. Ian, how you been?
Oh, you know, I've just been living my life.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do any fun stuff the past 2 weeks?
I went to a festival hosted by a good buddy, whose name is Lee. Lee from Tenacious D. No, but his name's Lee Thompson, and he was hosting a thing called the Short Fest, and it was in 3 locations: one in Michigan and 2 in Pennsylvania, IEA.
Those are 2 states that you know,
I actually give us.
Yeah, no, I know nothing about those places.
Don't know anything about those places, so it was very strange, kind of coming into this new land. Yeah, went to the festival, watched some shorts, met some folks, ate some food, had some drinks. Overall, had a good time.
Oh yeah, good. Is that the first time you've been? No, you were just in Philly recently.
Yeah, I was just in Philly, but you know, that Philly trip and Short Fest were the first time like boot in a boot and like socializing in like a year.
Still a big deal. I was just.
Yeah. Cool. It's funny too, because like you know, being social is definitely a muscle that you have to flex. So like the entire time I was there, I just felt very like awkward turtle, you know?
Yeah.
Just like, hey,
I
how's it going?
experienced a little bit of that after COVID. Granted, my job is talking to people, so it's kind of helped me get over
Yeah,
that.
you get better pretty quick with that. I was great. Like right before the pandemic, I was doing a decent job being in public. I was like, yeah, I figured I've got this whole personal interaction, social interaction with people thing worked out, and then COVID happened, and now it turns out those reflexes are shot to shit.
Yeah, that happens a little bit, but you'll get there again.
Yeah, I'm not saying like awful, awkward things. I'm just like a little like, oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, like the timing of social interactions is a little.
Hey everybody, this is
And honestly, it's probably mostly in your head. I think probably everybody else thinks you're just fine. It's just you're not comfortable because you haven't done
Yeah, it's 100%. It's that. I mean, I definitely noticed some parts where I was just like, no, this is awkward because I'm being awkward. But like, just because I'm like, hi. Okay, bye. It's like that scene in it's like that scene in Dumb and Dumber when he's like leaving the like gas station. He's like, hey, what'd you get? Grapevines or whatever? All right, see ya. You know.
I believe the quote was, "How's it going? Hey, big gulps, all right."
Yeah, and then he just goes, "All right, see ya."
Yeah. All right.
That was kind of like that was like a lot of my interactions at the Short Fest was me being like, "Hey, big gulps, all right. Well, see ya." And then moving on. That was me during a lot of Short Fest.
Nice. Well, you know, that's all right.
Yeah, I would rather be friendly and
Flexing that
awkward
muscle.
than. Yeah, you gotta work it out. It atrophied a little bit.
Belbo Rocket says, "What have you been up to? Nothing? Yeah, cool, same."
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
well, in the defense of that, that's usually what we do at the beginning of every show.
True.
But today we actually have some stuff, so that's
We actually had a thing I could say that I did recently.
we did things.
Crazy. But yeah, Short Fest was very cool. It seemed like it went very well for Lee, which I was happy about because I know he was stressing. I don't remember what 11 wears this season.
Well, I mean, she just wears normal clothes now.
She just wears clothes, yeah. I'm just putting her in a sweater. Fuck it.
So, let me think. What did I do the last couple weeks? I saw.
Yeah, let me ask you. Wait. Let me ask you these questions like you're a normal person and I like care about your life and stuff. What did you do this weekend?
Well, first off, I mean, saying it like that is not a normal way to do it.
No, it's not. But we brushed right past that.
This weekend, what did I do? Oh yeah, we went. This is actually the first weekend in like a couple months that we didn't really have too much going on, which is nice because we've been just feeling kind of like a little burned out from doing all.
Gotta
this
do all
stuff.
that wedding planning.
Well, that, and also we've just been seeing a lot of family and friends, and it's all fun stuff. But you know, I feel like I'm both introverted and extroverted, but the introvert part of me gets tired after talking to people, even if they're people I love very much. I just like need to rest my brain and not talk to people.
Absolutely,
So,
that's why we
after
play
a little
video
bit-
games.
Exactly. I said that to Morgan one time. I'm like, well, I just need to not relax and not talk to people. She's like, but you're talking to people the whole time you're playing games, and I'm like, okay, true, but it's different.
It's different.
I can turn it off at any time.
Yeah. Sometimes we just sit in silence and we're just like, nah, it's okay, I'm farming right now.
And then sometimes you say something and I'm like, shh, no, I need silence.
Don't ruin this.
But yeah, so I don't know. This weekend we really did too much. We did go to the beach yesterday with a couple friends, which was nice. And I managed to not get cooked like a little hot potato because I am a pale man and the sun likes to burn me. So I beat all the odds and didn't get burnt. So that's nice. But no, it was good. There's a lot of good beaches in Michigan, so.
There are some nice
There are
beaches in
lakes,
Michigan.
Too, so you take a dip and you don't get salt all over your eyes and your mouth, and you
Don't gotta worry about
there's no
sharks.
animals trying to eat you. Yeah, there's just little fishes that are like, hey, get away from me. That's basically it. So it's nice. Good.
Yeah. Well, that sounds lovely. And I mean, you know, you said that you were spending this weekend doing family and stuff, but a lot of the weekends you are very busy because you are doing like wedding stuff. You'll be like,
yeah.
oh gosh, I'm so tired. All I did all day was eat food and try out different chairs.
We've tried so many chairs. Yeah, I've sat in thousands of chairs over the course of wedding planning. Thousands.
Did you guys pick pick chairs for the event finally? Have you picked the chairs yet?
You're never gonna believe this, but we decided chairless wedding.
Whoa.
After all those chairs we sat in, none were good enough.
Standing desks have rotted your brain.
No standing. It's going to be everybody's going to be suspended from the ceiling on a,
Like,
a series of wires. The dance
like rope
floor is going to be
dancers?
wild. Yeah, everybody has to wear mouth guards in case you bang into each other. You don't want anybody breaking their teeth.
I'm loving
It's
it.
going to be pretty wild.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. That sounds great.
Double Rocky says, "I will sit on the floor." Nope, you're on wires too. You think you're getting away from the wires? You are sorely mistaken.
Hammock wedding, everybody. Hammock wedding.
Right. Everybody will have like that pattern of like a hammock like pressed into their skin by the time they leave.
Yeah.
But no, wedding stuff, it does keep me busy, but we've had a long time. We had like a year and a half, so we've been able to like go hard and then take a break for like a week or two and then go back into it and all that.
Hey, we don't need to hear about that stuff, okay? You get married, and what you guys do on your own time is what you want to do, but...
What you doing in your bedroom is your own business. I don't want to hear about it.
That's some real private talk you're giving us right now. I don't know if I want to hear that none.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, jeez.
Let's see. Leviathan Denses. Top Cat, yo, did you install the new GPU?
The answer's the same as when you asked me 5 hours ago, so let's just leave it at that.
Was it a yes back then?
Oh, it was no, I'm lazy.
Okay. And there you go.
Yeah.
So we're drawing Stranger Things stuff. It's a new show. No,
It is a new
many people
show.
have heard of it.
No one's
A lot
ever
of
heard this show
up-and-comers.
before. No one's
How do
ever
you feel
heard
about
of it.
Stranger Things?
I think my opinions on it are different than most people's.
You sure?
Yeah, I think-
I'm curious to hear what they are, because last we talked about it, which was before this season came out. You were a pretty big fan.
Yeah,
And you
I
had
mean,
only good things to say, which I think is what most people feel like.
I'm not saying like my opinions are wildly different, but just the general consensus. Like, because like, you know, I'm not talking about like among people who either like or dislike the show. Like among people who watch the show, my opinions differ from the general consensus.
That's all the more reason for you to share them.
Oh boy, let's get canceled for our opinions, bro. No, I thought
the cancelable opinions.
No,
well, maybe
no,
you
they're
shouldn't
not.
share these opinions.
Well, okay, I think first of all,
I hate all the diversity in the show.
not enough white people in Stranger Things. I think the fact that there are at least 2 black characters and then like 80 white people, that's just not enough white people, man. No.
I mean, it takes place in the 80s. There weren't anything but white people back then.
That's so true. You know, Eddie Murphy wasn't big or anything like that back then.
No, Tom Hanks was big.
Tom Hanks was big back then, and Tom Hanks
Getting
is
your movie.
Tom Hanks is as white as you can get, though. Like that is
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah, he is.
If you were to get any more European, he'd be I'm
That's the
Tom
best part.
Hanks.
He's always doing that, like,
Yeah,
how's my Tom Hanks?
that's accurate, I think. Oh boy, well, I'm just a lovable old scamp now. Oh, I used to be funny. Now I'm dramatic and sad all the time. No, but okay. So Stranger Things, I like it. I liked season 1. I thought it was good. People always say like I wish it had stopped after the first season, which I think is fair because Stranger Things did work very well as like a sort of like lightning in a bottle. I think Stranger Things season 1 sort of reintroduced a lot of people to the old John Carpenter sort of aesthetics of like the synth music and like the very like sort of like dark forebodings. Like it's like a very big Stranger Things is a very big like John Carpenter sort of like homage among other things, but there's a fuckload of John Carpenter in there just in like presentation alone.
Yeah, like they're definitely like leaning into it. I don't know if you noticed, but this show takes place in the 80s.
Oh no, I had no
But
idea.
they're pretty subtle about it.
They're super subtle about the 80s. No,
Ugh.
and that's one thing. So like in the beginning
That
of
one
the
makes
show,
me exhausted.
what the fact that like
That they lay it on so thick, like you don't know, like
Yeah.
they don't even like they'll play a song from the 80s, but it will be for like, it won't even be like the full song, like they're doing something. It will be like 10 seconds until they cut away and start a new song to show that they're in the 80s, and it's like, we get it.
There's like
Fucking
8
get
80s songs, yeah. And like the newest season, they start off by saying like this takes place July blank 1986, and it's like, oh, that's so crazy. I could have never put together that this takes place a few years after the first few seasons. Wow. And like the first season, they didn't lay it on they laid it on thick a little bit, but they didn't lay it on as thick. But they definitely like kept hammering it home, like having like. In season 2, they're like dressed up as the Ghostbusters and like singing the Ghostbusters theme song, and I'm just like, shut the fuck up.
Singing
like,
Never Ending Story song, like in season 3.
So like, here's the thing. Stranger Things definitely works really well as a one-off season thing, but I do like that there are additional seasons, because I think what Stranger Things excels at the most is character. Like the character, like they know how to make you love a character that they want you to love. They know how to make you hate a character that they want you to hate, and they know how to make you feel like a character is redeemed like right before they kill him, so that you can feel sad that they like this guy.
I can almost see them dying though in advance, because they do it so consistently.
Yeah, I like it's like watching an episode of Walking Dead. Like the moment you start to get somebody's backstory who you've never seen in the show before, you're like, oh, so you're gonna get fucking eaten by a zombie in the next 20 to 50
Especially if they're
minutes.
redeeming a almost antagonistic character. They're like humanizing them. You're like, oh, they're about to die in 10 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So that stuff's a little, and like here's the thing, like the entire time we've been watching Stranger Things is like I've been like predicting what's gonna happen. Like. It's an
easily predictable show, and it doesn't mean you're a genius. It's just, I think in general, I don't mean you specifically. I just feel like
no, yeah,
one of those shows that's like
they telegraph everything. They no foreshadowing is subtle in that show, and that's not like a bad thing. It's fine. That's why people do love it, is because it is like the show where okay, so here's the thing.
Real quick, I want to pause you for 1 second.
Go for it, please.
I think you're drawing in gray. I don't know. That doesn't necessarily matter, but you are drawing in 100% gray.
You're correct. I don't know how to fix that. There's no like pixel lock function. Yeah. She's a little bit in the background.
It's foggy out.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of different facets for how I feel about this show, so it's hard to like nail it all in one without like rambling too much and like jumping from point. But so like they do they're very good with character. They know how to make you like writing characters that you like and like care about is hard, and these folks are very good at it, so they use that to like its full advantage. But the plot itself is pretty like dumb and lame. And actual story is like where it falls apart, and that's fine. Like the characters are strong, like they know that the characters are the strength, so they use that to carry it. But I will say, like every season is like a mystery that you're watching like all these different characters solve, and it's a good thing that they telegraph everything so much, because like you're never gonna solve these mysteries with these kids. Like they'll be like looking at a flashing light and they'll be like, oh, the Chumbawamba is here and it's mad because the blinking light.
Chumbawamba is the 90s, and this show takes place in the 80s. I don't know if you noticed.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Dark Vader is blinking. We have to. That's mad, and like you'll never like figure out the shit. Like the kid, like they'll here's how every episode of the show goes. Is they're like, wow, we have to solve this monster, and then someone will look at a wall and there'll be like a drawing of like a sad face on the wall, and then they'll like look at it dramatically for 5 minutes, and everyone will be like, what? And then synth music as it like zooms in on their dramatic face, and then like you wait for 3 scenes while they go to Russia and then some other place, and then they come back to like the people you just saw, and then like it's them like laying out a map all Goonies style, and they're like, okay, so the sad face on the wall means that the monster is actually in Canada, and what we have to do is take an airplane, and it's like you're never gonna figure out what the fuck these kids are figuring out about this monster as it's happening. You just gotta kind of let them coast on it, and then every time you notice somebody's about to die, you're like, they're about to die. Look at me. This show isn't like a hodgepodge of random ideas.
I will say, you could argue on some degree. They might be trying to copy the style of movie that was also out in the 80s. Like a lot of these kind of like, they're like the Goonies is kind of a similar like vibe, like similar problem solving. But on the same note, I share the same issue, and a lot of times they use like, I get the whole show is like a parallel with like D&D, but they use D&D as like a guidebook to solve. They're like, oh, well, it's like this monster, so that means it operates this way, and it's like, no, I mean, this just because you see parallels doesn't mean that it's fully like this thing, right? Like the fantasy thing
y'all picked this name because it was the closest you had to it, and that works as like a thing. But now y'all are like, oh look, it says that Vecna takes searing damage if you hit it with holy light. It's like, dog, that's in the fucking game though. That's not you're dealing with.
But that's how the show works. They actually use it as like a guide, but
they do. Like, it's dumb.
Wow, this monster's similar to Scrooge McDuck, so that means if we leave a pile of coins, he will be drawn to it. Like, no, that's not.
I also
random.
It's random. You're absolutely 100% right, and that does bug me whenever that happens. I agree. One thing that really bugs me about the show is that, and again, I love the show. I really enjoy it, but you know, I'm gonna have
and I actually liked this season. A lot of me I was kind of one of those people you were describing. I think that were like they should have stopped at season 1. Yeah. I think season 2 and season 3 were like watchable, but they were just like I was starting to get fatigued. I think season 4 is probably one of the more decent ones, especially once you get to the end. I was halfway through and I was like, and then I finished the whole thing and I was like, as a whole, better than 2 and 3 in my opinion.
Okay, that's good to know, because we're like an hour away from finishing season 4, which we'll also discuss the length.
I did not like the reveal at the. I won't go into that, but I did not like the reveal at the end of part 1. It felt very slapped together and like it was supposed to be like this.
Yeah, who the bad guy? I predicted that shit from the moment like.
Well, obviously, because the person was like somebody who was just inserted in out of nowhere.
Yeah, and he started talking about like at the moment a character who you've never seen before has extra insight on like a story that like is also just introduced as like randomly as this character is. That character is probably involved in that story in a very heavy way.
but that reveal felt so, especially like at the last episode of part 1 where they just like show it happening. I'm just like,
yeah.
This feels like slapped together, like he like transforms in such a silly way. But they were kind of like give that a little bit more.
Yeah.
They flesh it out a bit more in part 2 in a way that made me go like, okay, fine enough. But
yeah,
initially I was just like, ugh, like this is lazy.
Yeah, I feel ya.
But I enjoyed it as a whole. I don't know, for what it is, for what the show is. Yeah.
I got about an hour and a half left on the final episode, and again, we'll discuss the length. But I do have a few other things I want to bring up, but before the length, one of the main things that bugs me about this newest season is how much of a movie it feels like, and that doesn't make sense, right? Like when I say it right off the bat, unless maybe you understand where I'm coming from. But like season 1 kind of felt like, okay, it's obviously it's a TV show. It's gonna be a fiction. Things are gonna be fictionalized, but like. I feel like this newest season. Okay, so like the first episode of this newest season, Eddie, the character Eddie, he is giving a speech about like I'm a freak. I don't fit in with this high school. And then like he gets up and he stands on like the cafeteria table as he like points at people and says like there are cliques and like what's wrong with the clique, and like he's like standing on a cafeteria table and like giving a monologue to these characters who are like listening, and like they're all smiling like they're on bated breath, like what he's gonna say next. And it's like, first of all, the shit this dude is saying is not new. Y'all have been complaining about this shit since season 1, so it's not like anything he is saying is gonna like blow your mind. So why are y'all like hanging on his every word? And 2, like why are you fucking standing on a cafeteria table? That's such a monologue in a movie thing to do, is to like do something completely like socially unacceptable, and then nobody in the room is gonna pay attention. Like if I was in that cafeteria, it's also kind
of a weird high schooler thing to do. Like I feel like I've experienced things like that, but it's not received well.
No, everyone in that room like just doesn't pay attention. There's no one in like the background who's like, yo, Eddie, get the fuck off the table, you fucking moron. Like, yeah. Someone would have said that in a high school for sure.
Probably, yeah.
And then it's like, I've never like given a speech about something, and I mean, this is me personally. I can't speak for other people.
On a table, like, or just in general?
just like during a monologue at least. I maybe have gone up on a table in the past.
Well, that's what a monologue is a speech.
That's yes, but like first of all, I've never talked for long enough where like anyone's given me time to give a monologue or a speech. I'll say like half of a sentence and then someone would be like, oh yeah, that reminds me of because that's how people talk, is like no one ever lets anybody monologue. You all like the moment a character in a movie speaks who's not on like a TV show or a radio show, like speaks for 3 minutes uninterrupted, like it's not real. It's fine. I love a good monologue in a movie. I love when Quentin Tarantino does it. That's like half the movie. Lucky Number. Quentin Turpentine. But like that's like those monologues are usually my favorite part of a Quentin Tarantino movies. Like that's half of the movie Lucky Number 11, and I love that movie. But half that movie is people giving monologues about shit. That's fine. But like in Stranger Things, like the first season, people weren't monologuing. People weren't standing on tables while they were monologuing. They were just like talking to each other like they were fucking human beings. By season 4, we have people standing on tables giving monologues. And again, this is gonna go back to the length thing, but there's like a fucking like 5-minute soliloquy like every episode at least. And it just feels so much more like a movie than the previous seasons did, which is fine. You can feel like a movie. That's an aesthetic that your sort of work can go for. But it, the show did not start out that way, so it just makes it even more apparent that like I'm watching a movie when it kind of felt more naturalistic in the first season. Kind of gets more dramatic, like for the sake of being dramatized as the show goes on. Maybe I'm misremembering it too, because maybe season 1 they have that shit too. I feel like they didn't.
So I like monologues. I do.
I do too.
I think it's like if the writer's good, it gives them a chance to really flex their kind of like creative or like interesting like dialogue.
It's a great way of like sort of getting across the metaphor that maybe you're trying to.
The thing is, Stranger Things is like a child soap opera with monsters. Yeah, and basically. So I don't want to see kids giving a monologue because like, I mean, half the kids are like, they were casted when they were toddlers, and now some of them can't even really act very good because but they're part of the show. You can't get rid of them.
Can't change the kid out.
They don't need to be. I mean, I thought Eddie is a good actor, but like, overall. But
who's your least favorite actor on the show?
To be honest, I know it's kind of weird, but I think like he might not be the worst, but I think Wolfhard or whatever, the main kid, like doesn't act that great compared to a lot of the other people he's surrounded by. And then also Will isn't that great of an actor either, I don't think.
Yeah, Will.
Like the two main kids are like the they're not terrible, but they're like the weakest actors. They're surrounded by, especially the people they've added as the show's gained popularity and had bigger budget, and like the kids are older.
Like, actual casting.
Like that Max girl is like the best actor of all the kids, and like, but she came in later, and then like some of the ones that were there from the beginning are just kind of like, well, you can't get rid of them or replace them with somebody who's better.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Nor should they? Because I always think that's jarring as hell when they're like, "Hey, Finn, how's it going? You look different from last summer," and it's just a whole different person.
Yeah, it's also weird because like everyone's clearly like 5 years older than when the last season ended, but they're all acting like it's a year later, and it's like I guess kids grow up fast, but we know exactly how.
Puberty hits hard.
Yeah, like we know exactly how much older these kids got because we were all in the pandemic together. I mean, y'all didn't shoot this right away.
I'm willing to suspend my disbelief to some degree, but.
Yeah. They should have just said like it's been a 3-year time skip instead of it's been a year. Like it's clearly not. It's clearly been more than a year. I think the brother Will is a better actor than Finn. He gets a lot of crying moments in this show, and he does a pretty good job with them. But I do think.
Yeah, Will's better than Finn. Agreed.
Yeah. They don't give Finn a lot to work with, but I mean maybe that was on purpose.
That's true.
He doesn't get a lot to work with. He's kind of like he's barely in the show, to be honest, this season.
I know, like honestly, this season he's like has like 8 lines, and they're always just like, huh?
He was too busy being in Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, got that.
Yeah, but I think okay. So like, I got 2 more complaints about the show, and then I think we can more freeform.
Let's go down the line.
This kind of goes along with the movie, but fucking everything's so melodramatic. Just everyone's got to give a speech. Again,
it's a soap opera for children.
it's turned more soap opera as it like in the beginning it was like a fun Goonies sort of like vibe, and now it's turning into full soap opera as like they watch more and more of their friends die in front of them and shit like that, which is fair. Like it's kind of like how the Harry Potter
darker
series
with some of the visuals, like
Yeah.
some of the deaths in this season are just like gnarly. Like even for like a horror movie, they would be intense.
Yeah, like they definitely crunch those people up like a ball.
They
of
crunch
tinfoil.
them up like little ball of tinfoil. That's a good description.
But yes, it's so melodramatic and like fine, whatever. But my final complaint is the fucking length, okay, of this new season.
Okay.
The news. Go ahead. What were you gonna say? Go for it.
Agree, but I don't know. It's hard to like. It'd be one thing if you were sitting in a movie theater watching like 4 hours of a movie, but like it's episodic, so you can kind of just like eat it up at your own pace, so I don't notice as much the length.
Right.
And I know the end parts are big, like it's like 90 minutes and like 2 hours, but like once again, I mean, you could still not watch it in one sitting, like you aren't, you know. But
yeah.
I don't know. I guess there is a lot of, because it's like as someone in the chat, Zenut said, Stranger Things is Degrassi for horror. Correct.
That's funny.
Because it's kind of soap opera-y, maybe like it weighs on your patience a little bit more, because it feels a lot of the shit that's taking up the time is so unnecessary.
Yeah, but that's a big complaint about it, is the amount of
that part I agree with. It's not really necessary, but the length itself, like if it's filled with stuff I'm actually interested in, I don't care about.
Oh yeah, if
TV.
I can watch an hour and a half thing that feels like 3 hours, and I can watch a 3-hour thing that feels like a 30-minute show. Like, you know, it all depends on how you use my time. And I think so. Like the newest season, first of all, is 3 episodes longer than the previous seasons. The previous seasons of Stranger Things were hour-long episodes, 6 episodes each. Second, so like again, originally Stranger Things, I think they were actually just like 48, like standard TV shows that are an hour long, or like you cut out commercial time and they're actually like 45 to 48 minutes long, something like that. Unless it's on like HBO, which they don't have to because you pay for it, so they don't have to do ads. But so standard.
Netflix.
Oh yeah, you pay for Netflix too, and they don't have ads on Netflix either. But still, like Netflix doesn't do it so much anymore. Like when they started doing Arrested Development did like when the fourth season of Arrested Development first came out, they didn't do 30-minute episodes. They would do like 45, 15. They just did whatever length they felt like was necessary for that season.
That's how it should be, I think, with that medium. Like,
yeah,
you have the ability to do whatever you want, so don't feel structured. I
agree.
Like
Although I agree, and you know, so Netflix, they don't care about like what the length is, but this show, this particular season, I feel like it has a lot to do with the fact that like Netflix has been dealing with that huge like stock plunge and like the subscribers going and things like that. Like that was a big story like earlier this year. And Stranger Things is a big pull for Netflix, which is why I think they also cut the season in half, so that you get the first season and then you have to stay subscribed, so you watch the next season. You know, that's an extra month
100%.
that they get a subscriber. But also, fucking A, these episodes, there's 9 episodes, again, 3 extra from the last seasons, and the episodes have now gone from an hour to each episode is an hour and a half long. Full hour and a half being used up.
Okay,
and
you're right.
and that's long as shit. And then like, first of all, characters are giving dumbass monologues standing on cafeteria tables about like how they don't fit in. Again, that's a speech we heard in season 1. You don't gotta keep giving it. Oh, it's high school, you don't fit in still. Fucking who we know. You don't have to give a monologue on what's new? You don't have to give a monologue on a cafeteria table about that shit. Everyone has like 3 monologues per episode. And again, I love a monologue, but give me something. Like, at least in Kill Bill Volume 2, he's talking about why Superman is a reverse superhero, and I thought that was actually fucking interesting. This shit is just like people either like talking about something you saw in the last season and how it made them sad, which I understood in the last season when your character was sad from it, or it's like just saying some shit about
time. They need to catch you up the entire season in every monologue.
They do. They need to let you know, like, oh, when so-and-so's brother died, they didn't like that. It's like, oh, no shit. So a bunch of...
Aww.
Whoa. Crazy. So a bunch
this
of...
is the 80s.
Yeah, also this is the 80s, and we're gonna play like 5 80s songs in a thing, and like we're gonna play like some of those songs in their entirety as we like do slow-mo
We're gonna ruin
pans.
a Kate Bush song for you that you will have to listen to it 30 times during this one season.
And like in the first episode, there's a 5-minute segment where we're watching in slow motion of Lucas put a basket in a hoop, and also somebody at, parallel moment, somebody rolling dice in a D&D game. And it's like, fine, it's a dramatic moment, I get it. This is 5 fucking minutes of slow motion for 2 games. Again, these are characters playing games. I know they're important to the characters and things like that, but they are playing games. In your horror movie where somebody's about to get crumpled up like a fucking van in a car accident, okay? So like... Choose your moments to slow-mo. Don't make me wait an hour and a half while characters stand on cafeteria tables giving shitty monologues and then throw dice in slow motion, okay? Like, I can watch a basketball game. That's fine. I can play D&D. I don't need that shit in slow motion. Just don't try and wring emotional moments out of, like, every little bit. Just make them episodes and the plot stand on their own. I don't know.
You don't want you to miss anything.
Then,
we gotta slow it down.
We gotta slow it down. We gotta do all these slow motion shots. We gotta, like, pan around a fucking mansion 8 times for like a minute and a half each so you can remember, oh, this is a spooky mansion. Like, I don't need that.
Put a lot of work into building the set. We gotta show it off.
Like, yeah, they needed somebody to trim the fucking fat, and you know that they probably could have, but Netflix was, I mean, again, I think it was a little bit of Netflix in there being like, make it longer, they might not finish this season. It's an extra month. I don't know.
Yeah.
Definitely cutting it in half. And then the final episode's 2.5 hours long. Like, you didn't get everything you needed out of the other hour and a half for the other 8 extra episodes y'all did? Like, it's unnecessary.
Some monologues they couldn't quite fit in.
There's like the last thing I saw before we quit the episode to come up here and do this show was Max giving a monologue about how she sad her brother died. And it's like, oh, I had no idea from all the flashbacks you made us watch and how you made her give that speech on his gravestone earlier in the season. Why are you making us watch? Sorry, go ahead.
The weirdest part is there was a table in the graveyard that she was standing on while giving the monologue. It was strange.
Yeah, she was at on a soapbox all of a sudden. It was very weird. So she gives like the same monologue twice, once on the brother's grave and then just once inside the mansion, and it's like, dog, you gave this monologue. I don't need this again. This is so much. They didn't
done that.
Been here, done that. They didn't need to. I could think of like so much fat I could trim from that season.
Yeah, that's fair. It needs some editing, but like you said, maybe that was something like Netflix.
Yeah.
Forced on them.
I think so. I think also it's a little bit because the show has become such a cultural phenomenon. Like, when you think about the show in the beginning, if characters had to go to a school to defeat a monster, they would go to the school and they would fucking be in there, and then the monster would chase them and then they would kill it. But in this newest season, if the kids were going to a school to defeat a monster, it'd show them pulling up, it'd all get in slow motion, they'd probably play something from Journey, and then they'd get inside the school and it'd be slow motion of them all looking around the school and going like, wow, this is spooky.
Yeah.
Hold on, Steve and Nancy have to go talk about their feelings with each other for no fucking reason, even though, like, they've just established like 5 minutes ago that they're on a tight time budget. No, let's have these characters have a heart-to-heart. Who cares? We couldn't tell from all of the longing.
A lot of heart-to-hearts.
A lot of heart-to-hearts. We couldn't tell from all of the shots of characters, like, and then like you see like a back of a person's head, and then like it cuts to the other character just going like, like 50 times per episode, because like everyone's in love with everybody else.
It's a soap opera for children. That's what it is with monsters also.
Yeah.
I'm not saying only children can enjoy the show. I
doubt kids could enjoy
all the people having drama that a soap opera are children.
Yes. And I get it. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I understand that these are large stakes, so people probably want to like discuss things with each other before they might never see each other again because of horrifying deaths. But like, y'all, it's too much. It's way too much. And I still like the season. I still like the season.
Here's something that I noticed that's especially egregious this season, but it's been true for like 2 through 4. But something Stranger Things always does that I actually kind of enjoy most of the time, because it just makes a bunch of different interesting things going on. But they have a B-side story, they have a C-side story, they have a D-side story. There's like all these things going on simultaneously around the world in this one, but around the town in previous seasons, all that.
Yeah.
Always something they do, like, more and more all the time. But the thing is, because they have 8 stories going at the same time, there's several times where they do this thing that's like, oh no, this bad thing's gonna happen now! And then it cuts to the other story. Like somebody's being like literally like strangled, and they're like, and then they cut over to somebody else for 10 minutes doing something else, and then they come back to them and they're still being strangled. I'm like, so am I just supposed to like ignore the actual time frame, or am I supposed to believe that like time has no meaning when you're skipping around stories? I don't know, because it's just like they would have been dead and buried like by the time you cut back to them.
For sure,
you've been,
for sure.
Like cycling through 8 different stories happening to like this cast of like 30 characters around the world.
It's like it's like that aspect in like an open world game where they're like, oh my gosh, the monster's about to destroy this village. You gotta get there and save them. And it's like, I'm gonna go to the casino land.
It's like I have 100 hours in like Breath of the Wild and I still haven't fought the final boss, who's just been like hanging out at the castle. Like, you coming or what?
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Like, been here.
You're lucky I'm waiting. So yeah, and like that's another, and like, you know, they in video games, in open world video games, Yahtzee from Zero Punctuation coined a term that's sort of become a thing that a lot of people accept as the standard, and they call that game narrative, ludo narrative synchronicity, where the narrative of your game and the gameplay don't align. That's the synchronicity is, you know, when things sort of don't meet up properly. It's like synchronicity is like
is when they do, or when
synchronicity is like a coincidence happens, but it's not like ordained. Like it's a coincidence. Like synchronicity is just things are not like as connected as they appear to be, you know. So it's like if it's like how you sent me the episode title for this potential episode was Strangest Things. And I was like, oh yeah, Stranger Things. And like there's not synchronicity in there because Stranger Things just came out. The synchronicity would be if like Stranger Things came out a year ago and we both decided to just talk about Stranger Things this episode. That would be the synchronicity.
Right.
Ludonarrative dissonance. Well, yeah, it's dissonance, but synchronicity is like a form of dissonance, but like it's different. But the term is ludonarrative synchronicity as that's what at least Yahtzee came up with. I'm sure other people have come up with their own terms, and ludonarrative is not a new term either. So anyways, there's a little bit of ludo editing synchronicity in Stranger Things where like, you know, they have to jump between all these stories, but like ending when something dramatic is happening and then cutting away for like a whole episode is not the best way to do it, in my opinion. I don't know what the best way is to do it because I've never cut together a fucking 20-hour long TV show season, but you know, that shit is there.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell what they're trying to do. They're trying to like say like, hey, all these things are happening at the same time.
Exactly. And how do you do that without showing them like picture-in-picture mode, you know? Like that's.
But it's hard building the tension so intensely on somebody that looks like they're about to die in the next 10 seconds and then cutting away for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And like then coming back to them like on the verge again, and it's like, okay, but like,
yeah.
All the suspense you built is kind of like the pressure has gone back down a little bit again. While I wasn't looking at them like get the air choked out of their lungs.
Yeah, exactly. And that's there's like whole episodes of this season where like they'll end with something dramatic happening for one, because there's 4 threads that I can think of going on in this season. Will, what's the main character's name? Mike, and Will's brother. Off with Argyle and
Demogorgon.
Dennis Gordon. So the friends out in LA who are going to visit 11. Then that splits off in 11 on her own narrative for a while, but that branch quickly meets back up with them again, like 2 episodes later. And then. So that's one storyline, and then it's the folks who are in Hawkins still, the kids who are solving the mystery there. The shit going on in Russia with Hopper, Jane, and Brett Gelman and all of them, and then the NBA jock or the basketball jocks who want to fucking murder Eddie. So there's 4 narratives that are kind of happening all at the same time, and then like little mini narratives that they sprinkle in throughout here and there. But that's 4 that you have to deal with, and like. For one episode, they just straight up ignore 2 of the plot threads, or they just follow the one plot thread, I'm pretty sure, because they had like a lot to cover with that. But it's like, you know, where they left it off with was still a pretty like they left off. I think how it happens exactly is like they're in a van. Will Mike, Will's brother, who I don't remember, is Jonathan Argyle, and then like a federal agent who was protecting them, who just got like shot in the chest. And they're in a van, and then the episode ends for them there, and then the entire next episode is like set with them trying to get Hopper out of like Russia. And then like we don't go back to that situation where a guy just got fucking shot in the chest and they just escaped a bunch of dudes in like fucking camo outfits like with M4s. So it's like that's a lot. You're juggling a lot, guys. Are you sure you can handle this many plates?
Yep, they try.
Whether they succeed or not, that's going to be up to each individual person, I think.
Yeah. Overall, I thought the season was pretty good. I liked it. Like I said, I think I liked it better than 2. And I don't know, 2 was all right. It had some lulls and some weird and unnecessary stuff. They all do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like it. Don't get me wrong. Despite all my complaints, I like it. But my complaints are my complaints because these are just things that I'm like, fuck.
I don't spend this long talking about things that I completely hate, you know?
Yeah.
You know, trying to dissect something that I do enjoy, but it's got cons as well as pros.
Yeah, overall, still solid season. I mean, they play their strengths. They know their strengths. Well, it needs to be a little bit lighter if it doesn't want to blend in with the DrawBomb logo. We should make the DrawBomb logo like red, like should have done it like the Stranger Things.
It's supposed to be good. If you want to recolor it, knock yourself out.
No, thank you.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, no, thank you, sir. I like this one a little bit better. No, I like this one. I don't know. Fuck it. It's a little bit of both. Look at that. All right. But yeah. So Stranger Things. I like it. Check it out if you like Stranger Things. It's long as fuck. It's gonna waste your time. I thought that helicopter crash they did was fucking cool though. Like I thought they pulled that off.
I liked that.
Honestly.
That was fun. Like the helicopter crash. There's a montage in the final part that I thought was pretty fun.
All right.
It's definitely one of those moments that are like not really necessary and like kind of like doing the thing they always do, where it just like leans into certain the time era and other tropes and things like that. But I still had fun watching it. That was fun.
All right.
But yeah, I don't know. It's good. Watch it, I guess, if you have Netflix and you like Stranger Things.
If you like Stranger Things,
Stranger Things, it's more. It's just more.
Yeah, give it a watch.
And I think there's just one season left after this, and then.
Yeah, they said that season 5 is going to be the last. I thought this was actually supposed to be the last. I thought for sure that.
I was kind of pumped for that. Not because I don't like it, but shows I like, I want them to end. Yeah. I think I'm maybe like unique in that. A lot of people are just like want as much as they can get, but I'm like, no, just don't. I want all my favorite shows. I want them to be miniseries basically, and just like I feel like the quality goes up the less time you're on the air. You can kind of hone in what you're trying to make. There's no pressure to like follow it up. You know, whether a lot of these shows, they're like, season 1 I worked on that for 10 years and pitched it and it got picked up, and then they're like, all right, can you have me another season by next year? And I'm like, sure. And then the season 2 is lame, and it's like I want the whole picture to be painted in the beginning, and like I want it to be figured out before you try to tell me the story. I don't want you to have to figure it out on the fly for like an actual story I'm invested in. If it's just like a weekly, like, you know, whatever you call it, just like a show that's
sitcom,
flying by the seat of their pants, sitcom-ish thing, go ahead, knock yourself out, or a comedy, I don't care. But if it's like an actual like epic with like a beginning, middle, and end, and I want like a concise story and there's characters I care about, then like have it figured out if you can. Yeah,
I think it's fine for a show to be longer than like one season. Like I think Breaking Bad going on for as long as it did was fine. They definitely didn't have Breaking Bad figured out by the time like they finished season 1. Like they definitely did not have that shit figured out. Because I mean Jesse Pinkman was supposed to die at the end of season 1.
That's true.
And
but I think they kept it short on purpose.
Oh, they went 6 seasons.
I think wasn't it 4?
No, it
4
was
and a half.
It was 5, but 5 was cut into season season 5 part 1, which was the same amount of episodes as season 5 part 2 and season 4. They cut. It was
I thought season 4 was cut in half. Let me look
No,
at
it's season 3. They go after Gus Fring. Season 4 is when they do all the stuff after Gus, but like where they still haven't met up with like the neo-Nazis yet. Season 5, part 1, they end with like shooting the kid, and then season 6 is when they finish the whole story.
that.
Pretty sure that's how it breaks down. I'm pretty sure. I mean, look, I've been fucking wrong about this stuff plenty of times on the show.
Nah,
So.
there's season 5, part 1 and 2, but you could argue that's like season 5 and season 6, even though it's the length of
A single season.
a single season.
Yeah, it was totally season 6, but I don't. They were the first show to do that, by the way. I'm pretty sure Breaking Bad was the first show where they were like, yeah, it's season 5, part 1, and everyone was like, so it's season 6, and like, yeah, but it's not.
Yeah. Well, that's fair.
6 seasons for Breaking Bad, but you know, Breaking Bad still I thought was good.
I guess maybe more. Yeah, I love Breaking Bad. Maybe more what I'm trying to say is I like short shows because you can kind of like.
No, I think there's.
Play it out.
I think there's something definitely to be said for knowing when to stop, you know?
Yeah.
And or knowing when like you've overextended yourself and like the stories just run its course. Like so many like the issue with a lot of shows is either they lose sight of what made it so fresh and good in the beginning, and then also like just sort of losing sight, but also like a story running its course. Like if a story is done, like you can't wring more water out of that sponge. It's over. The story's finished. So it's a lot of shows. I think
they try.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally fair. And I've heard people make the argument of like people making TV are like, this is a job, and it takes like an entire village to make it. So like there's people that are there from the start of the show, and like if you have a show that's gone like 8 seasons, you're like, if you stop the show, you're putting like 100 people out of work. And that's a lot of pressure, because I feel like as a showrunner or like a writer, you might be like caring about the integrity of the show, but like, I mean, that's something that honestly is probably more important to the viewer, and then everybody else is like, I'm just trying to fucking go to work.
Trying to eat, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's true, yeah. If you end a show, like you've all of a sudden put a bunch of folks out of like, and if it's like a show that's been running for a long time, like the people who are working on that show get paid. Like, you know, the longer a show is on the air, the more the folks who work on it get paid. So like if it's like a show like, you know, that's been running for 6 seasons, like that's a really good paycheck for a lot of folks who have probably like built their nest egg on having that job. I mean, I think when you work in that industry, you also know of how sort of short-lived, like, you know, when you start a show out, like you don't write more than 1 season of a TV show, or even more than like the first 10 episodes, because like for all you know, the show could get never picked up or could get canceled in like the first 2 shows or first 2 episodes. So it's like, it is an industry where you kind of know that you're and a lot of like
expected. And oh, sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, just knowing from a few folks who like work not like big roles, but like, you know, doing like key grip and things like that, like, you know, you kind of jump from project to project. Like you're not necessarily like if you're working like doing behind the scenes stuff, like being a best boy or something like that, like you're not necessarily working on the same show every time.
Right.
So it's a number of factors.
And I was gonna say also, I don't think it's expected, and I think it's more expected to be like hopping around like you said, but at the same time, I could see as the showrunner and the person who like makes the call of like, is this job over for everyone? Like that, there'd be pressure on them, I think. But I don't think anybody would be like hold it against the people running the show. Like, oh man, you to make a 17th season of this show? Fuck you, man. Like I don't think that's the case, but like, I do think as the person making the show, it'd be kind of like you'd have to like deliberate a little bit and be like.
There's like episodes of 30 Rock where that's like what Liz is dealing with, is like, I gotta make this decision, and like it's gonna affect people's jobs. Like that's a lot of her show, is like her trying to figure out how to keep everyone from losing their jobs while these crazy people are sort of, you know, doing their crazy antics. So, it definitely comes into play.
Charles Dickens School of Art. I don't understand the reference.
Please, sir, can I have some more? More seasons? I don't know. That's the best bet I could come up with. I'm sorry.
I hope that's it, because
that'd be quite the Oliver twist.
It'd be nice if you got it. That would be an Oliver twist.
That would be quite the Oliver twist. You know, we've been playing a game that's free on Steam.
We did. Played a little bit yesterday.
Oh, I was talking about the cycle, but I mean, we can talk about Smithworks too.
Yeah. Well, no, we don't need to talk about Smithworks.
Let's talk about Smithworks. Why not? We got.
Okay.
We're about to finish this drawing. We got an hour to kill after this.
Real quick, first off, Belba Rocket says, sorry, his stories were much longer because he got paid by the word, was the joke I was making.
Oh.
I didn't know that about him. That's interesting.
That actually, I didn't know, I don't remember that detail specifically, but I did know a little bit. Like, the reason that Great Expectations is cut into, like, chapters the way it is because it was released as part of, like, a monthly sort of, like, store. Like, each chapter would be released as part of, like, a monthly collection of, like, stories. So, like, Great Expectations is broken up the way it is because it was, like, made for that sort of publishing format. And it would make sense that he would be paid by the word, because I think that makes a lot of sense.
That would be a interesting
big deal
thing, because it would turn somebody who's an established artist into like me in 8th grade trying to hit like the 1,000 word limit. I was like required for like a book report where I'm like, so the thing I am trying to say to you in this essay is the following thing that I am about to say.
That's 100% what the new Stranger Things feels like. 100%.
Yeah, I just made your line art black. Bada bing, bada boom.
How'd you do that? Did you put a multiply layer over it?
Yeah, that's what I did. That's the thing I did.
Alright, this drawing's done.
Hell yeah. I'm gonna save this. Smithworks is a game where you make weapons, weird weapons.
Oh wait, before you save it.
Yeah, it's like a weird
now you can save.
Blacksmithing. Blacksmith
like
meets
Overcooked,
but like first person.
Yeah.
And it's all right. We had fun with it. It seems like the difficulty is like ramping up very intensely.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where the rest of the levels take us, because it says we've unlocked like the full smithy. Like, we've got all the pieces now. It's just going to be harder and harder orders, I have to assume.
That would be and less time and stuff like that.
Yeah, true.
And maybe like more difficult like settings. Like, I know if you played like Overcooked, there's like levels where like there's like the floor's splitting apart from an earthquake, or like you're on like the top of like a moving bus or some weird shit. So that's probably what's gonna happen, I would imagine. But yeah, so that game's fine. But yeah, maybe we'll talk more about what we've been playing after we come back from our break.
Yeah, so we're gonna go on a break for a short bit. And then we'll return, as we do pretty much every episode. Oh my gosh, we're back.
What, we are? Oh no. Oh
we're
god.
Back. We did.
Tell me when we're back on.
Okay, I'll let you know when we're back on. You alright? You breathing good there? Breathing like my dad.
La 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 la. Sorry, I'm just doing some vocal warm-ups.
No, it's good. Not yet, so.
Yeah. Let me know when we're on though, because this would be really embarrassing.
This would be so embarrassing if we were on.
I'd be so embarrassed. Oh my god. La la.
I'm gonna do some test vocals as well. You know how my test vocals always go, so you're not gonna be surprised.
I've seen it a million times.
Yeah. Okay, so what are your test vocals? Come on. I think that might be the one right there. Does that sound like the best scream? I mean,
the last one was the best one. I mean,
yeah,
it always is.
Is that usually how I end up screaming before we go on?
It's like tuning the guitar. Yeah, you gotta hone it in. I think that last one is right in the sweet spot.
Didn't quite, like, I felt like there we go. That was it. That was the one. Okay. Wow. Oh my god, we have been on this whole time.
What?
I just pressed the rolling button and it didn't change the screen at all. I thought I was in studio mode. I was not.
I was secretly hoping I couldn't say it because I thought of it while we were doing that bit, but I was secretly hoping right at the moment you'd be like, all right, we're gonna go live in 3, 2, and then cut to like being gone.
That would have been a great joke. Like if I just went to the prep screen all of a sudden, like I was like, all right, we're gonna start 3, 2, 1. And then into that. That would have been good.
Can't pitch jokes when we're live, so.
No, we should have thought about that. Well, we
whatever
that
will be.
It was all improv too. We didn't figure that shit out till we were rolling, baby.
I know it's hard to believe, but that was made up on the spot.
Wild. So, talk about Smithworks. Yeah. Talk about Stranger Things. Talk about our lives to the extent that they have existed so far this week.
That's the only extent I am able to talk about my life. Usually is.
Yeah, same.
As far as I've existed.
Like, if I were to talk about my life in the future tense, like, you'd be like, what the fuck? Why are you a robot prostitute? And it's because robots need loving too.
Rich and famous.
Yeah. There I was, murdered in an alleyway. Wow, your view of yourself in the future is not, it's not a sunny outlook.
Everybody always pairs rich with famous, but I feel like you can just be rich and not famous. Like that's the real.
You can be. You know what's very common is being famous but not rich.
Yeah, and that no thank you to that.
Yeah, that sounds.
Or the latter. I just want rich. Don't need the fame.
Don't need the fame. The fame, and you definitely want either both, or just the rich. But you don't want the fame without the rich, because that usually ends up means you did something.
A lot of times you're already dead at that point, if that's the case.
That's also true. Yeah.
We went to. Some people may have had it pass through their town. I think when we were in Chicago, it was there. But there's this traveling like Vincent Van Gogh exhibit thing. It's all right. I didn't feel like it was worth the money, but it was all right. Basically, like you get like the history. It's like a walkthrough exhibit, and you like none of like the real art. Like it's not like a actual artwork exhibit. It's like a digital thing. But like you walk through, and there's like all this information. Like you get the history. And then you go into this big room, and this is like the actual thing you're paying for. But you go into this big room, and like they must measure it out exactly the same in every city it's in, because it's like projected on the floor, the walls. Like there's pillars in the middle. Everything's like there's projection on everything. And then like you watch this like 40-minute thing that's like happening all around you and like on the floor next to you and everything and on the walls.
Oh, that's fun.
It's kind of fun. I thought it was a little overpriced, but
How much was it?
Whatever. It's like $40.
That's kind of what I expected. I mean, $25 sounds about like fair, but $40 is what I would expect to pay for that.
Yeah, I don't know. To me, it just felt a little expensive. Anyways.
Yeah, that's fair. It is a little expensive for that.
It was real quick. Belbo Rock says draw along. You should.
Yeah.
Are you asking?
If you draw stuff and you just want to post it in our Discord and say, show people I made this.
Right now we don't have like a theme we're drawing, but.
Yeah, we thought about doing more AI generated art prompts, but we were like, we just did that like 3 times in a row.
We're just gonna take a small break from that.
Small break. Oh, actually, I did say we were gonna do one thing. I did mention this, and it was gonna be a surprise. So we'll do this while we talk. But that sounds cool. I mean, you had a good time though.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But anyways, the reason I was bringing it up is because we were talking about being famous but not rich. And
right.
Van Gogh was famously like broke most of his life, and then he died, and then now people are making tons of money off of his existence. But
yeah.
At the very end part, you exit through a gift shop, of course, and some of the shit in that gift shop is like there was like a plushy Van Gogh. It's like we just got done reading like all this like stuff that's like he lived this tortured life. He like was like mentally unstable. He like was in an asylum when he painted some of his most famous works. Like kind of a tragic existence. None of his work was famous until he was dead. And then there's this little like plushy Van Gogh that has like even like his ear missing with like a little patch over it and stuff. And I'm like, this feels kind of wrong after reading all that shit. Like,
yeah, like the tonal shift
right,
is a little fucked.
Yeah. Like, how cute.
Oh my gosh, look at him. It's even after he was... This must have been in between bouts of violent bleeding from the gout or something, you know?
It's just like, this weird, like, I don't know.
Yeah, that's strange shit. It's like having a Marie Antoinette doll, and then like she's got like a little neckline where she was like hit with a guillotine, you know?
Yeah, and she comes with a cake accessory.
Yeah. So that's very funny. It's very accurate to capitalism though. It just reminds me of it's like that. I'll never forget when like Mark Zuckerberg was showing off like the Oculus Quest like Facebook Hangout thing.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And they're like, look, it's fucking hurricane ravaged Puerto Rico. So cool. And it's like,
wow, it's like we're right here.
How are you all not like understanding you're terrible people? Like, it's I love the show Silicon Valley on HBO, and they said that they had like straight up stolen like a speech that like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk or like Peter Thiel had like made to a crowd, and they just like had one of the like evil rich tech dudes say it word for word in the show, and like test audiences thought it was too like over the top, and they're like,
this is not believable.
This is real life. This is what they actually did. But so they had to tone it down. And that sounds about right. Those folks are fucking gremlins who have, and you know, I talked about being awkward turtle during a short fest, but like I wasn't actively destroying like democracy in Myanmar or anything like that while I was doing it. So
it's pretty funny how these people who are like the most socially inept humans have created like something that is based on social interactivity. Like there's definitely some irony there.
There is, and then no wonder it's all fucked. No wonder like no wonder the engagement is all about like hate clicks and things like that, because those are like, I don't understand social, so I guess if people, it's like the same, like it's literally the exact same, like, oh, any publicity is good. If people are mad at me, they're talking about me, and it's like, I can just imagine like Mark Zuckerberg like slapping a girl on the ass, and she's like telling all her friends what a piece of shit Muck Zuckfucker. Like he's at like a fucking party, like smacks a girl on the ass, and then like she's telling all of her friends what a creeper he is. And he's like, what? They're talking about me means they're in their minds, and it's like they all fucking hate you.
Actually, how they talk. I see Elon Musk all the time being like, anytime he gets criticism, being like, oh, I'm flattered, or like, oh, they have a crush on me. And it's like, you're a fucking
gremlin. I don't know.
Like
a gremlin just feels
gremlin,
like
yeah, that's a great. I was trying to think of a better word than gremlin because you just used that, but my brain was circling gremlin. I'm trying not to say it.
It's all right. I just feel like it's a very apt. When I picture like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk, I imagine them like in a fucking cupboard, and if I open it and shine a flashlight on them, they'll like go, ah! And like drop a bagel and like scamper. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly how I picture these fucking tech billionaires who are destroying the world and all deserve a horrible fate. Including Jeff Bezos. We're on Twitch. We haven't done that in a while. We haven't
doing your vocal warm-ups.
Yeah. Ah! Ah! Jeff Bezos is there just like, why do I listen to every Twitch stream?
It's like, well, it's part of the job, you know.
Yeah. That's a very
everything.
Simpsons joke. I feel like old Simpsons joke would be like Jeff Bezos actually watches every Twitch stream because he owns the website or something like that. Like,
it has to be there.
Yeah, like Homer Simpson would be like, well, and since Jeff Bezos does it, I can't do a good Homer Simpson, but since Jeff Bezos is on Twitch, he's watching, but he isn't, so fuck him. And then it's Jeff Bezos, and he's just like, oh, and he like puts his headphones down. Oh,
yeah.
Just how I picture it. I'm saying I should write for the Simpsons.
I mean, it's probably like one of those, like, you know how like there's not a lot of jobs these days, or there's not a lot of people, like there's a worker shortage, like,
yeah.
So like a lot of grocery stores are like, walk in and you can get a job today. I mean, I imagine that's how like Simpsons writing is these days.
I sort of feel that way, yeah.
Like, if you wanted to be a writer, you hired.
I feel like that was before the pandemic even. Simpsons was just kind of in that sort of dire straits.
I don't think they're struggling, I just think they don't give a shit.
No.
They've been going forever.
I've seen.
It's turned into like a weird like. To be fair, I'm shitting on something I haven't really watched.
Right.
In over a decade. I haven't seen a new episode of Simpsons in over a decade. But it just feels like it's become this like institutional, almost like talk showy vibe where they're like, this week we have so and so. We have Jeff Bezos on The Simpsons.
Yeah. That was definitely like the vibe, where the show is headed. Like when it started to go downhill. Like I remember watching the Simpsons like every week as a kid, and like knowing the exact moment that the show had taken its like plunge. You know, because I remember we watched it, and then like they hit the 300th episode, and on that episode like Tony Hawk came in, and there was like 3 guest stars for the 300th episode, and like that was a thing. And then we were like, oh, that episode is kind of weird, but I get it. They're doing a victory lap, 300 episodes, you know. Yeah, I get it. And then the episode afterward was like they had Weird Al and the Queer Eye for the Straight Guy folks on as the guest episodes, and like that was 2 in the same. And I feel like after that point, like that episode sucked, and then like the episode after, we were just like, oh, I don't think The Simpsons is good anymore. And it was unfortunate.
I feel like they have to have guest stars on now. It's like, no.
Yeah.
Although I understand they're probably like, what else do we write? Like,
yeah,
it's been going for 1,000 years.
I have seen a few episodes of, like, especially when I was writing for that website about TV and stuff. I did. You're drawing me screaming right now. I thought that was you talking into a microphone for a while, and I just realized when
No, this is you doing your vocal warm up.
That's like how Homer screams. But I have seen a few episodes of the new Simpsons, and a couple did make me laugh, but a couple did make me roll my eyes pretty hard. Like there was an episode where Mr. Burns goes to billionaire camp, so they got, not even kidding you, they got Jeff Bezos and Mark Cuban and I think Elon Musk to all do guest voice like lines.
Gross. On
it. Yeah, I felt gross. I was like, y'all are making fun of billionaires, but then you got a bunch of billionaires to voice act in this episode. It kind of...
Don't hire billionaires for anything.
Yeah, it took the episode from, it seemed like it was making fun of billionaire, because like the whole episode was like Mr. Burns goes to billionaire camp, and then they do, like they live billionaire lives, so they don't understand like how much toilet paper costs, or like, you know, things like that. And at first it seemed like they were making fun of billionaires, and I was like, I can get behind this. But then you have like like you have the characters doing, or the actual people like voicing themselves, and I was like, well, if they're in on the joke, it feels less like you're making fun of billionaires, and you're just sort of like, isn't it cool how billionaires don't have to worry about the price of toilet paper? And I was, you know,
no, it's not cool.
It's not cool. Toilet paper's fucking expensive. So yeah, so that episode happened. There was one episode I watched where I liked what they did, but it was the episode that was the most unlike a previous Simpsons episode. And I've talked about this on a previous episode, but who the fuck listens to everything we do? So I'll just talk about it again. Oh, thank you. I'm so happy.
It was slightly insincere.
What? No, but it was an episode where they were making fun of like Hallmark movies. So it was like a Christmas episode, but it happened in July, and I think that it was supposed to be the Christmas episode of the last year, but the pandemic fucked it up. So they just put it in the middle of this season, and the episode takes place in the summer because they're shooting a Hallmark movie in Springfield. But the whole episode follows the woman who's playing the main character, or they're not shooting a Hallmark movie. They're sort of making, like, they're acting out a Hallmark movie, like the episode's a Hallmark movie, but it's not like I think it is a Hallmark movie too. She works for Hallmark. It doesn't fucking matter. The point is,
I need to know whether this is a Hallmark movie or not.
Okay, here's how it goes. She works for She works for Hallmark, and she's going to Springfield to scout for the location for their next Hallmark Christmas movie, where she ends up just living, like, then the entire episode is played out like a Hallmark movie. Like, the camera angles are the same, the music's the same, like, it follows this character instead of the Simpsons. The Simpsons are side characters in this particular episode. And then, like, that was enjoyable because it was such, like, a different episode. And then the episode ended very funny, where she falls in love with Mr. Skinner, and then her boyfriend from home shows up, and he's like, hey, what the did you seriously go to a town for a week and then fall in love with somebody there again? This is like the third time. And then she, like, is like, sorry, Mark, and she heads home. And the way they do it is very funny, that she apparently just keeps living this Hallmark fantasy life that, you know, It was it was clever. I thought it was well done,
They were
but it was
doing
also
something original.
they were doing something different, and it was at least like a Simpsons episode, so that ended up working. I hear the movie was. I haven't seen the movie, but the movie came out after the show had declined, and I hear
liked the
people.
movie.
Yeah, people say the movie's good, and that was after that, Tony Hawk episode. So weird.
Yeah, it was after the show was not as good anymore. That's true. So yeah, that's true.
Huh.
So I don't know.
So yeah, Simpsons.
Simpsons is this new show. Check it out.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
While you're there, check out Family Guy.
What's that?
Oh, it's this show. I've seen all of the newest season of I'm caught up on Family Guy, by the way.
Oh wow. I know you were to a certain point, but I didn't know you.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, I was caught up, and then the new season came out, so I watched it. It's weird. The weird thing about Family Guy is they had that whole thing where like they stopped the white guy voicing Cleveland and then handed the reins to like a YouTuber, and like
That's cool. I
yeah.
didn't know that.
Yeah, like they gave Cleveland's voice to an actual black guy, and who's able to do like he made his nut making YouTube videos doing character impersonations. One of his characters he would do was Cleveland, so they hired that guy to do Cleveland's voice now to get an actual black person to voice Cleveland. And like this is the first season where they finally got Cleveland back, or where they finally like have the new guy doing the voices. And then I checked, and like Cleveland has like no lines in the season. He like barely talks. I think he says like 3 things, I think, the entire season.
They just wanted the pat on the back for doing it, and then that's it.
It feels like it, yeah. I don't know. Like
Crazy Kyle. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. I'm just talking about TV shows like I always do. Cut me off
Real quick,
anytime.
Crazy Kyle mentioning one of the billionaires. He says Mark Cuban is making an affordable medication thingy, right? Probably for bad reasons, but I don't know. Yeah, he actually is, and it's actually I'm sure he's get some kind of like weird kickback where he doesn't have to pay taxes out of it or something. But
yeah,
it actually helps people. It's actually good, and it's actually significantly cheaper. Like I have one medication that's like legit. Instead of being like $60, it's like $5.
Huh.
So that's cool.
That is cool. I mean, look, if he's using his powers for good, that's awesome.
Right,
I mean,
100%. Yeah.
But you also, I mean, so here's the thing. First of all, you have to earn my benefit of the doubt if you're a billionaire. But also,
sure.
You don't get $1 billion by being ethical. Is the other
Exactly. That was the thing I was just gonna say too. Yeah, you can't be a billionaire and a fully good person. It's pretty impossible to pull off.
You don't obtain that wealth ethically. And that's why I always shit on billionaires. But yeah, if Mark Cuban's doing some stuff that's actually like doing good for people, like I'm gonna give props. I'm sure Mark Cuban paid other people to do all the hard work, and that's fine. At least somebody got the funding to make it. So there's like a million like things I could say, but if he's doing so, if the end result is people are being helped, then I'm happy, and
For sure. Yeah.
he deserves credit where it's due for that. But I'm still gonna shit on him because he's a billionaire, and it's not gonna hurt his feelings.
No.
I would probably make a profit if he looked at me. Like if he were to glance at me, I'd probably find a couple extra pennies in my pocket to be like, fuck. But yeah, so about the Cleveland voice switching thing, I'm gonna do a little bit more research because it was something I was curious about, because they had actually switched out his voice actor before the last season came out. But they did the last season, and then the voice actor thing, after the George Floyd protests, and that was, I could see it, like if it takes 9 months to make a single episode of a show, they probably had those episodes finished for a long time, so it made sense they hadn't switched over for the season right when they made the announcement that they were switching the voice actor. But I did find it weird that they had, on the wiki, they're like, this is the first season where Zafir, I think is the guy's name, the new YouTuber guy, where he voices Cleveland. And I was like, oh, cool. And then I looked for any episodes with Cleveland in them. And there is an episode where everyone's telling their backstories, and it's they always at least have 3 episodes per season of Family Guy where it's 3 separate stories that are, it's for each commercial break it's a different story that you kind of follow, and then they're all disconnected but sort of connected by the same, classic shit that every TV show does. Right. They do one of those where they're all in a record store and they're talking about how I think they all met each other. Or no, they're talking about something else. or probably about music because we're in a record store. But they have Cleveland, Quagmire, Joe, Peter all in the record store, and Cleveland doesn't say any lines. But then they switch the over to Jerome, who's another black character on the show. I don't know who voices him, but he started out very stereotypical character. Probably some other white guy, and he started out also very stereotypical, like black guy, and then like they just slowly kind of gave him more depth as the show went on. But like Jerome, when he first started in the show, was like stereotypical black guy joke. Like the whole point of his character's existence is that Lois used to date him, and then Peter felt inadequate because Lois used to date a black guy, and then a bunch of jokes about him probably having a large dick. That was the whole episode. So Jerome was not the best diversity for the show, not the best addition. He's on the show now. I mean, sure, it's good the show has more black characters, but it's weird that they have Cleveland in the record shop with them, but Cleveland does not get any lines, but then they cut over to Jerome. Let me just look up who voices Jerome on the show. I think I did Google it before. It is a black guy. But just to confirm. And his voice is like insane. Like his voice is like if you were to hear his voice. Kevin Michael Richardson, who is a black guy. Yeah, so that's good at least. Good. At least they gave the role to a black guy that time, and at least he still had the lines. But it just feels weird that they made a whole to-do. We got Cleveland a new voice actor. This is the first season that we have him, and then he gets nothing. Yeah, it seems strange, but it's also not far off.
Maybe they'll get there. Maybe they're just like getting things set up or something.
I'm sure there's a little bit of training that goes into taking on a main character, or what was once a main character role for the TV. He stopped being a main character once he got the spin-off, but he used to be. But I forgot. But there was another show that kind of did a similar thing, which was Big Mouth. And I thought I'm not like the person to speak on this sort of subject, but I thought Big Mouth handled it better than a lot of shows. Because Big Mouth had a black character on the show. She was voiced by Jenny Slate.
Right. Okay.
And they, after the George Floyd protests, where all these shows were like, maybe we should have black people voice act black characters. A bunch of these shows made these casting changes, including Big Mouth. And what they did in Big Mouth was they actually had a whole story arc, because like the character is half white, half black, but she feels like she grew up white, and then she kind of hangs out with her black dad's side of the family, who they introduce her to what it's like to be black in America, and sort of let her sort of explore that side of herself. And so it's like a whole story. And again, I don't know if this is good representation, because I'm a fucking white guy talking about a black storyline in a TV show, written by people whose race is indeterminate. I don't know. Anyways. But what happens is she eventually decides that like her true self isn't like being like exactly like her black family. Her true self isn't exactly being like her white side of the family. She's kind of somewhere in the middle, and that's how she feels most comfortable. And so like that's like she has like a confrontation with herself in the mirror, and like that's when she switches over from being Jenny Slate to being the new voice actress.
That's a good way to go about it, maybe.
Yeah, when she
not our call to make, but it seems like a good way to go about it.
I like that they weren't just like, she's got a new voice now. They were like, it was like a part of personal growth of her character was she decided that she wasn't gonna be just like, just kind of like, So I don't know if that's good representation, but I feel like it's better than just sort of like at least Cleveland's voice. Like this new voice for the character is completely different, not entirely, but it's like it's different enough where it's noticeable. So it makes sense for them to sort of like address it. Cleveland's voice is supposed to be like the same exact voice because it's they got a guy who does a perfect impersonation of him, so it makes less sense to do it sort of that. But I liked how they did it in Big Mouth.
Yeah, it seems like they at least put a little more care into it. Like it's a lot of times companies will just be like, or corporations or whoever's in charge of these decisions will just be like, hey, look at this thing we did. We're on the right side of things, and then like that's the end of it. Like just like a flipping a switch. Like it's like a little simple. So that if they wrote a whole episode about it, maybe it shows that they care a little bit more about this transition and like what it means and why they're doing it and all that. Yeah,
Big Mouth in general has been a pretty left wing. They actually like did a whole episode about Planned Parenthood in Big Mouth in one of their seasons.
Oh, okay.
like just a bunch of different like sort of mini storylines, but all having to do with like access to reproductive care, Planned Parenthood, all that stuff, and even mentioned that they were doing the episode specifically for Planned Parenthood. So they've always been a pretty left-wing show. They don't always hit the mark because they did actually cause a lot of controversy when they had one character come on and say that they were pansexual, which meant that they were also attracted to trans people, which is not how that works. Pansexual is different than being attracted to trans people as well as men and women. But so they did that, and then that got a lot of backlash, which I think they was a little bit. It was like, I think it's fine to do backlash because that was like promotional material that they released for the show, where it was a character saying like, I'm pansexual, which means I'm attracted to men, women, and trans people. And then a bunch of people were just like, no, that's being bisexual. This is just, the pansexual is different, but this is also just making it seem like it's othering trans people. So that was like a whole thing. But then, so that there was always something interesting about that season because they released that speech that character was making as promo material for the season, and a lot of people were accurately pissed off because, again, it's very inaccurate, it's transphobic, it's a little bit biphobic too. But later on in that season, they do actually reveal that a different character is also bisexual, and he considers himself bisexual, but he doesn't care if you're like man, woman, trans, anything like that. So it's weird because in the same season, they actually do a more proper, accurate portrayal of what bisexuality is, which is trans-inclusive. And so it's interesting that they released promo material that actively made the show seem like they were fucking up. And then like later in the season, they were actually like better about it. And it's not like, you know, it's a cartoon. They don't have the time to scramble and like fix shit like a month later. So it's interesting. But
Seems
Big
like
Mouth,
a weird misstep.
It was a weird misstep. I don't know why they did that. It turned a lot of people already don't like I like Big Mouth. I think it's a good show. A lot of people don't like it because of the art style. Immediately turns them off because it's an ugly.
I was just about to say I haven't really given it a chance because of that.
Yeah,
but I hear people talk about it. Maybe I should watch it. I don't know.
You get used to like after a while. I actually don't hate the art. It makes a lot more sense the more you watch the show, and it kind of. I'm not saying it looks better.
They're awkward kids, so like maybe the art should be kind of awkward too.
That like it just. Like it does the same job that the art in Family Guy does. Like it's not fucking like you're not like gonna look at it for inspiration, but like it gets like because a lot of the characters are sort of facsimiles of the real life voice actor who is playing that character. It allows them to sort of stylize these characters to look like their voice actor if they want to, and like it gets the job done. Is really what it does. It gets the job done. So it doesn't look great, but like after a while, I'm not saying I'm endeared to it, but I don't give a shit about the way that it looks so much anymore. Fair. And they do.
I felt the same thing about Bob's Burgers, and I love it now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just like things that you like these predisposed kind of opinions.
Yeah,
that don't really matter. They're all like judging a book by its cover fully.
Yeah, and it still bugs me that people in Bob's Burgers don't have chins, but like I love the shit out of Bob's Burgers. Like it's a great show, and it looks good.
I actually like the art style now. You know.
Yeah.
After watching it, it like grew on me because it's like, okay, they're all awkward weirdos, and it just kind of fits the whole vibe.
That's kind of how it is with Big Mouth. Is pretty much the same sort of thing. But it's a well written show. It's very funny, and yeah, so they did an interesting transformation for that character. This is really where this topic started. Yeah.
Maybe I should give it a chance. People always tell me about it, and I'm always like, yeah, okay.
So
I don't know. I'm not sure why my judgment comes. I think I watched like the pilot and it didn't get me, but that rarely happens anyways with any show. So I don't know why I always am like expect it to win me over in the first episode.
Yeah, I get it though. Like I was originally not planning on like. I was considering probably maybe giving it a watch because I'm a big Nick Kroll fan. He had done the Kroll show right before that, and I was a big fan of the Kroll show, so I was like, I was like begrudgingly gonna give it a chance.
I also like John Mulaney a lot.
Yeah, it looked ugly, but I was willing to give it a shot. And then my roommate at the time, Savannah, was like, yo, you gotta watch Big Mouth, it's great. And I was like, all right. And then I watched it with her, and great. We watched the whole season.
The rest was history.
It was great. So I'm a big fan of the show now. But yeah, I get why people don't check it out. Like, it's a hard sell. Especially to animators, people who are in art and animation. Like, I talk to them, I'm like, yeah, Big Mouth's fun. And like on the animation Discord, like almost nobody's watched Big Mouth because they just don't like the way it looks. And I'm like, yeah, it's well written though.
It's kind of a bummer of a reason for a show to like not get any attention. I mean, it does. It's a very successful show. I'm not trying to say like, oh, they're struggling.
Yeah.
But if just the description you just gave about animators themselves being like, nope, it's like,
yeah,
that's kind of a bummer. But I get it because that's kind of how I feel too.
Yeah, I mean, you were.
I don't think it's a good reason. I'm just being candid about why. I haven't given it a chance.
I think it's a valid reason because if something's gonna look if it's gonna be a pain to look at something, like that's just gonna make it harder to watch. Like, I get it. It's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the show. I think if like shows like Family Guy and like all of the shows that sort of like rode because they call that particular animation style premium animation because of the thin lines. It looks more expensive to produce. You can kind of like add more detail. In the industry, apparently it's called premium animation. And because we've just been so conditioned that every show with that is like a fucking Family Guy, just like nightmare.
That's probably a big part of it too. Yeah.
Yeah. It adds to that bad taste in your mouth. So because the show looks like it's just going to be like another, and like the trailers for it too are usually like, whoa, I'm coming, farts.
Yeah, that's it too. It's like cringy, the material they put out.
Yeah, because the people who put together the marketing, like, it's hard to sell a show where like you're like, no, trust me, like it gets good by the 6th episode. Like, how do you sell that in like a fucking commercial?
Yeah, that's a tough one.
It's tough. And like, so I feel for the people who cut together the trailers, but also they do like, I could probably cut together a better trailer, I assume. And like, I don't know. I don't know, man. It's a good show. I like it though.
Yeah, I'll give it another shot.
And if you don't like it, I get it.
There's no shows to watch these days, so I feel like I'm gonna watch it because I need something.
If there is just a lack of content to
such a lack. Yeah.
And like the things that are out there, they definitely don't waste my time and make me watch.
No, not at all. And I'm gonna stand on a table and explain to you why there's no good things to watch.
That moment just bugged me so much. I was just like, why are you standing up? This is such a, like, it just felt like it was in the first. Yeah, it just felt like it was the first episode in the new season, and I was just like, oh man, this whole season they're gonna feel like they have to make it like a movie, and they did, and that's fine. Like
a lot of like action montages.
Yes.
Sometimes work, but other times do not.
Well, and just like it bugs me the most. Like, it's fine when like some things are movie like some things only work in a movie and like you can't convey that in a realistic way at all, but it makes sense for a story. But like when characters do things that only make sense, like for instance, another thing that was very much like a movie, and I was like, what? This is dumb, and it took me right out of the moment, was later in the season, Dustin, all the characters who are in Hawkins go to Mike's house where his parents are, because they're trying to meet up with, they're trying to get a hold of Mike. The parents can't get a hold of him. The police are like searching for Eddie and stuff now. And so the parents are standing here, and then there's a kitchen table, and like they're talking to the police, and then there's a kitchen table that they're all standing next to. And then like the one like sister of Mike who's never in the show ever except for like this one scene is sitting there. And
like
then the character,
the young one.
Yeah, the young one. And then the characters all sit around, and then they start saying like, so Vecna's killed again. Pull the eyes right out of so-and-so. How do we know where Vecna's gonna strike next? Well, if we take the light, we have to go back to the mansion. We have to go back to Eddie's trailer, and we have to go talk. And it's like, you're saying all this shit. Your parents are 2 feet away. You are speaking full volume, and your parents are 2 feet away with the police, and y'all are just going like, can't believe Vecna's killed again. Our plan last night didn't work. And it's just like, this is movie shit. This is like it always bugs me when characters are like, hey, let's have this very serious conversation, so we'll walk 2 feet over here. It's like,
great, now that no one can hear us. Yeah, well, I mean, that show has always been, like we said earlier, the show has always been an homage to 80s movies.
It is, but like it didn't feel like they were.
It didn't feel as much like that. I can't remember that far back, honestly. Like the style.
I can't either.
There's several year gap in between each, so I just honestly, that might be the case. It might have shifted tonally in a big way, but I just don't remember at this point.
I could be making it.
Honestly, every time a new season comes out and there's like a recap, I'm like, oh fuck, all that stuff happened. I forgot about all of that.
That's funny. That's how the parents were when we were doing the recap. They're like, oh right. Yeah. But I mean, I could be completely talking out of my ass. I don't know. I feel like I've seen the show all the way through, like in the pandemic. Like I didn't watch it before the pandemic. So I feel like I'm a little fresher.
Okay, so it's recent. Yeah, you've watched it all recently.
But I also could be completely fucking wrong because I also watched all of Frasier in between, and you know that's gonna bog the mind down a little bit. So
maybe everything's just a little jumbled. So you're like, I like the season of Stranger Things where Eddie just won't get off the sofa.
I can't believe Niles killed so many people. He was really mad about what Maris said.
Yeah.
So I could be completely wrong about like the show feeling. It just feels, I like try and think back to moments, and I feel like I think about like moments where characters have these big revelations and they were not played up as dramatically. And I think a large part of that too is because the show is so popular nowadays. Like the show feels like it has to feel more larger than life. Like the whole like this whole season they're like, it's gonna end the world. It's gonna end the world. And it's like, I guess they were talking about the end of the world in the previous seasons, but it still always felt more like Hawkins specifically is in trouble. And so like the world was already kind of at stake because you're dealing with a giant interdimensional monster. Like fair. It still feels like this season everything's more dramatic. Like every moment is just made to be bigger when it doesn't need to be, because Stranger Things is such a sort of household name now. They have to like remind you that like, hey, aren't we a big deal?
I also think when a show gets this big, not only what you're saying, like they have to play up the situations, but they also have to like play up the characters themselves because they're like loved. So like it leads to a lot more like montages. It leads a lot more like standing on table moments.
Absolutely.
Things where they're like, we got to give this character this scene because everyone loves this character.
I've been on.
You're not writing like truthfully. Now you're writing like to fill a certain void or something.
It's like
a certain desire.
It's like how when you get like
type shit.
Yeah, it's like when you get a movie that's written by committee, like a super, like one of those movies that's got like 20 different writers that gets passed around, and then like the movie just feels like a bunch of different scenes that could all fit into a trailer. You know, that's kind of like it becomes like that where it's like you're not writing a story, you're writing story moments, and then you're figuring out like a connective tissue between all of them. But like these are all like these really epic moments. So yeah, I feel like that was. That just bugs me about the shit.
Yeah. It takes you out of it a little bit is the problem.
Yeah.
Like it kills immersion.
My suspension of disbelief was ruined a little bit by that fucker standing on that that cafeteria table. And it's interesting too because like I haven't finished the season yet, but obviously anytime a new Stranger Things season comes out, everyone starts doing fan art for it because it helps your engagement numbers and people like the show. And so I've seen like...
We did.
I've seen like we just did, we did, and I've seen like 15 drawings of Eddie playing electric guitar, because he has like that scene where he plays Master of Puppets. Don't know where the drummer came from, but no, but
part 1 or part 2, or was that the 90-minute one or the?
That's the final episode. It happened.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that, even though it felt very like
I did.
Some of the stuff we're complaining about, it was fun.
It's fun. It's 100% a like moment that they wrote in because it's like, wouldn't it be cool if Eddie Munson played an electric guitar on it to attract the bats? Like that's a cool story moment. It's not, but you know, that's what it feels like. A lot of the season was written as was a lot of these. Wouldn't it be cool if?
Yeah. And then how do we connect all this stuff? Yeah, it's a good point.
So that just bugs me when things like I can tell. I can tell when things are written like it's because it's like I said, it's like when you can tell a movie is written by committee. Like if like we were talking about some movie we were watching during the movie nights recently, and we were like every single fucking line, like Uncharted for instance, we were talking about the Uncharted movie, and we were like every line feels like it was made to be like potentially cut into a trailer because no one's having a conversation, everyone's just saying like one-liner like trailer drops to each other, like wow,
that's really annoying.
Looks like we're gonna have to go get this treasure, and then like someone will respond with, it's not just the treasure we're gonna have to get, and like everything could be immediately cut with like a brom and then like a cut to like a release date, you know.
I'm just waiting for somebody to make trailer of the movie.
It's kind of
a movie length trailer.
That's what Uncharted was, man. The whole fucking movie I fucking hated so much.
I didn't watch that one, but I'm okay with that.
All right. Yeah. No, you didn't miss a damn thing. But yeah, when you can tell when something's like written by committee, and it just. I'm not saying that the new Stranger Things was. I do get the sense that it was written by, what, the Duffer Brothers? Do they write all these seasons? Do they hire writers
it's the
now?
Duffer Bros.
Duffer Bros.
Duffer Bros. What did I read they're making next? They're working on something. It's like a. I feel like I'm drawing a blank. I should have brought it up because I don't know what it is. But it's something. It's like a license that people know already.
I always assume whenever you get like a bunch of unknowns who direct something that's massively popular, the next thing they get hired for is like a big franchise.
Yeah. But I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah. So the Duffer Bros.
Yeah, Duffer Bros' next project. What are the Duffers duffering around on?
Duffer Man can't breathe. Oh no.
Oh no. Well, obviously.
Power Rangers?
No, well, there's going to be a Stranger Things spin-off, but I could have guessed that, obviously.
Oh yeah. I'm surprised there's not a Stranger Things spin-off already.
Yeah. I hope it's about the Demogorgon. It's like
it's just like Home Life.
It's tough being a Demogorgon.
WandaVision but starring a Demogorgon.
Yeah, there you go. Let's see here.
Leave it to Demodog.
Doug Dimmadome.
Doug Dimmadog Demodome.
Let's see here. They're making Death Note. They're making another live-action Death Note. They're gonna try again.
Are they seriously?
But this time, there's no way they're gonna whitewash it because they had to have learned from the previous mistakes, right? Like the previous version of Death Note, they made it like all white actors.
Yeah. Well, look.
So,
any lessons they didn't learn from Death Note, Cowboy Bebop, anything else? Yeah. I feel like there's like five other.
A lot of things that they can draw from to not make similar mistakes. But yeah. So they're making a Death Note show. I've never read the manga or anything, but I know it's well loved.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Death Note. I've seen like 5 episodes. I want to say I haven't seen all of it, but I've seen like 5 episodes. But the fun part about Death Note is that it's kind of like watching two.
Is there an anime for Death Note?
Yeah, it's a TV show. It's like a 1 season long arc.
Gotcha. I knew somebody who was really into the manga, and I guess I never really knew about the show. But okay,
no, yeah,
never mind.
Kind of like the length that Cowboy Bebop is. That's the length of the Death Note anime. But
most popular animes have a manga, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That they're based on.
Nowadays, most popular anime have a webtoon, but that's a whole different subject. You can tell when an anime is based on a webtoon if it's got one of those really long ass names that's like my boyfriend is actually secretly an anime villain, but I have to change him. That's based on a webtoon.
What's webtoon? Is that webtoon like one of those Rule 34 things?
No, webtoon is like the new webcomic format. Like they're all on like a website. Webtoon is a website that hosts all these comics, and you can either just host your webcomic on there so people can see it, or sometimes you get hired by Webtoon to like make official content for the website. And the main thing about Webtoon is the scrolling format. It's all vertical, like you scroll. Like you ever see those comics where there's no like actual panels? It's all like you scroll and it's an image, and then you scroll and that's like, do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
That's the webtoon format. That's the like if you've seen a lot of those, it's because webtoon has become very popular, and that's the format that webtoon utilizes. But it's very popular in South Korea and Japan specifically. I think a lot of different East Asian countries, but in South Korea very much so. And so a lot of anime that comes out nowadays is actually because Webtoon has also been sort of making the push. Like Webtoon's latest advertisements have even been like, our comics get turned into animes, or read it before it becomes the TV show, which is both reductive of comics as a format and other things. But a lot of Webtoons nowadays get turned into anime, and because Webtoon has such a large catalog, a lot of Webtoon titles are like just explaining the premise of the webcomic in the title. So like you'll have a lot of Webtoons that are like, my boyfriend is anime villain, but I can change him. Or I think one I saw was the main character is seriously overpowered. Like those are all of like the Webtoon titles.
Okay.
And so, like, when you see an anime that's got, like, an overly long title that explains the premise of the anime in its title, it's based on a webtoon.
Gotcha. I have a quick question. Is the line art missing from you doing your vocal test on the draw pile?
No.
Okay.
Nor is it...
It's gone.
For me, it disappeared for a brief moment, but it came back, and it's showing up on the stream, too.
Okay, I saw that, and that's why I was confused.
Are you trying to color it? You need me to help you color it?
I was trying to move it over so that it was kind of separate.
Oh. No, it's fine. I'm pretty much done with this drawing anyways.
Alright. Oh, there we go. It's back. I'm just going to move it over just for formatting purposes, because sometimes I clip stuff apart and use it on Twitter and things like that.
Alright.
But I'm done with these two.
Cool. But yeah, Webtoon, yeah, also Death Note. Death Note's fun. Death Note's kind of like watching two characters play chess in like a game of chess with each other. A battle of the wits, but with some extra bullshit and mixed into it. My favorite part of it is the bat. Like, I like a good cat and mouse game in a TV show.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard it's good.
So my favorite parts about Death Note are that, but again, I haven't seen the whole show. So for all I know, they could have a cat and mouse game for like 3 episodes, and then like fucking then it stops. For all I know.
Bell Rocket says, hate Death Note. However long it is, it's too long. Then she says, I thought everything.
Somebody line art now.
Oh, right. Got it. And then Zenit says, fuck Death Note.
I actually heard him shout that from the other room because Zach has absolutely no volume control. So I've been hearing him just yell the entire show.
We've been getting him that fired up.
I mean, I don't know. Literally,
I mean, I get it. This show's pretty intense stuff.
Zach's whole thing is getting fired up.
Ian, couple things. First off, did you try to move that line art over now? Because I'm having issues. Draw Pile's giving me the whole run around. I don't know what layer it's on. I can't. It won't tell me.
Do some searching.
Wait. I think I got this. I think I got this now.
Okay.
Nobody worry.
I'm watching with
Everyone
bated
stop
breath.
worrying.
That drawing's kind of scary without the line art, not gonna lie.
I know, that's why I'm trying to fix it really fast so I don't have to look at it anymore.
There we go.
There, we're all good. We're all good.
What do you want to plug?
Double Rocket says, Ian has cited precisely what I hate most about Death Note. So, you guys have different tastes. What do I want to plug? The thing I would plug is kind of stealing something that you probably want to plug.
Yeah, go for it. I think I know what you're gonna say.
Well, if you watch any of our like other stuff that we stream, about a month ago, I streamed all of Resident Evil 4 in VR on the channel. I had a good time doing it, and then Ian, the absolute MVP, took all the footage, like 6 hours worth, edited it all down in a really 12 hours?
Yeah.
Holy shit. Once you clipped it apart, it was like 6 hours, right?
Yeah. Once I took out all the moments where you weren't talking, it was about 6 hours.
That's wild. So there you go. Edited down, and the edit is really, really fun, really entertaining. I love it. But I think this should be your plug, but I'm stealing it.
Oh, that's okay. You're in it. You're the main character.
Yeah, that's true. I'm the support. I'm the main actor. Yeah.
I'm the one who's like, I write subtitles making fun of how you're playing the game. So if anything, it's only fair that
You're the chop buster.
I'm the chop buster. I busted your chops.
You sure did. But you should check it out. It's speaking of episodes that are too long. It's like a 2-hour video. So maybe break it up a little bit. Watch it in a few parts,
to 3
or
hours.
just dig in and go for the marathon. It's really good. I recommend it. It's on our YouTube. Do we have like a Nightbot link to our YouTube? Or
I think if we do links, ! Links. Let me try. Links. Yep.
I don't think YouTube's there though.
That just gives our. Oh, that's old too. That's not even my portfolio website anymore.
Well, it's youtube.com in case anyone's wondering. That's where you'll find it. So
www.youtube.com / or just look up DrawBomb live. You can't find it if you look up just DrawBomb. You get a bunch of tutorials from like 5-year-olds about how to draw like a little bomb like we draw. But
we should make a tutorial.
We should make a tutorial like that. That'll be the way we pull people in.
How we lure them in. But yeah, I'll post the link quick.
Yeah.
Just because everybody should definitely check it out. It's great. Bada bing, bada boom. There you go. There's the links. Check that out. Ian, do you have anything to plug that I didn't steal from you?
Not a whole lot. Still working on that comic.
Yeah.
My album came out a couple weeks ago now. Check it out still if you haven't. Most of the music that is on that album you will hear at some point on this show in the background. I don't know. That's about it. I haven't done a whole lot else that I can talk about, aside from the YouTube video and the album. That's it.
All right.
Alrighty, Reed.
Well, thanks everyone for watching tonight. We had Crazy Kyle, Leviathan Den, Bubba Rocket, Z-Newts.
All here.
Yeah. All here. All, joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you all.
I wanted to stand on a table to say that, but there's none.
Hold on, I can.
No tables.
Oh, Captain, my Captain.
There you go. Well, it looks like you're the bottom half of my body now.
Oh yeah. Wait. So I don't die.
I'm dancing. Wow, I can't believe it took us 114 episodes to finally reach our maximum potential. Ha cha cha cha, ha cha cha cha, charlie charlie cha. All right. On that note,
All right.
I can't think of a better time than now to end this thing. So, thanks everybody for watching. Bye. Oh wait, yeah, I gotta wave. Fucking stupid.
Okay, let's get the fuck out of here.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.